Good morning. It's Thursday, February 27th. This cat is stealing my chair. It's like squishing him. Okay, it's yours now. February 27th, and this is A Course in Miracles, lesson 57, which is again collection of 5 that we're reviewing, 31 through 35. So, lesson 31, I am not a victim of the world I see. Number 32, I have invented the world I see. Number 33, there is another way of looking at the world. Number 34, I could see peace instead of this. And number 35, my mind is part of God's. I am very holy. So these lessons, they describe them a little bit differently than they did originally, which they said they were going to be doing that. Oh, my arm is tired. I woke up with weak muscles. So, I am not a victim of the world I see. How can I be the victim of a world that can be completely undone if I so choose? My chains are loosened. I can drop them off merely by desiring to do so. The prison door is open. I can leave simply by walking out. Nothing holds me in this world. Only my wish to stay keeps me a prisoner. I would give up my insane wishes and walk into the sunlight at last. That is such a way of just trying. It's like saying you can flip your mindset at any time. And get out of that victim mentality where it's like, these are the stories we tell ourselves, like when we're being a victim. Now, you might really have been a victim of certain circumstances, and you might still feel like that today. But it's saying you can just desire, simply by desiring to change your mindset, you can loosen those chains that you put around yourself. And that victim, the way you see the world is like victims and perpetrators. Like, and be honest, when we look out in the world, do we see perpetrators and victims of the things those perpetrators are doing? Is that the right word, perpetrator? Perpetrator. And so, but what if we just looked out at the world and saw the isness of things? It might be like people who hurt people. Like the people who are hurt or wounded turn around and hurt or wound others. So that's saying hurt people. The hurt people end up hurting people. And so it kind of shifts it a little bit into maybe some compassion, maybe some understanding, maybe that we can have forgiveness. I don't know. It's one way that helps me kind of reframe that whole, I see people who are doing bad and people who are victims of the bad. And of course, I'm going to look at myself as a victim because I'm not going to see myself as doing bad things. No, that's an ego thing. The ego is protective. It's like, oh, honey, you're not the bad one. They're the bad ones. You're just the victim of the bad stuff. So you have bad luck. It's like the ego just has to stay alive and well. It's very protective of itself that way. And protective of you. It doesn't want you thinking you're a bad person. But no one really is a bad person. Hurt people. I mean, I don't know, it's just true, isn't it? If you are still wounded, if you're not still wounded, you're not going to turn around and hurt other people if you're operating from a place of pure heart health and joy and abundance and all of those things that make us feel fully alive and fully in alignment with ourselves, what we believe, and in our integrity. But if we're still wounded, we're hurt, and we're going to turn around and hurt other people. And so we can have a little bit of grace and compassion for that, and maybe help people get the help they need. Help people. I don't know. So number 32, I have invented the world I see. Sorry, my arms are tired. Hold it over here. I made up the prison in which I see myself. All I need to do is recognize this, and I am free. I have deluded myself into believing that it is possible to imprison the Son of God. So I don't understand exactly what that means. I mean, it goes on to say, like, just by, like, the Son of God must be forever be free. And it's also likening us to the Son of God, because the Son of God was a person. And then they also talk about how we are all the sonship, which is like we're all the Son of God. I don't know how else to say it. So if you believe that God would have his people imprisoned, then that's just a falseness. And I have made up the prison in which I see myself. All I need to do is recognize this, and I am free. Recognize false beliefs. And it's like, oh, wait, there's no prison here. I'm free. I have freedom. I have invented the world I see. Again, whatever we think inside is what we see outside. And then number 33, there is another way of looking at the world. Since the purpose of the world is not the one I ascribe to it, there must be another way of looking at it. I see everything upside down, and my thoughts are the opposite of truth. I see the world as a prison for God's Son. It must be then that the world is really a place where he can be set free. We just talked about that. I would look upon the world as it is and see a place of freedom. In number 34, I could see peace instead of this. When I see the world as a place of freedom, I realize that it reflects the laws of God instead of the rules I made up for it to obey. It's like God's way is the way of peace. And anytime we're feeling not peace, it's something we're making up and projecting into our world. Our outer reality is made up of our inner reality. And then my mind is part of God's. I am very holy. As I share the peace of the world with my brothers, I begin to understand that this peace comes from deep within myself. There it is again. The peace is from within. That world I look upon has taken on the light of my forgiveness. Again, it's whatever we're feeling inside shines that light out. So it's like if I'm looking upon the world as forgiveness and shines forgiveness back at me, it's reciprocal. What you put out, you get back. The way you look out at the world is what comes right back at you. So if I choose to see peace and love, guess what I'm going to feel come back at me? And if you're like, well, I'm doing it, and I still get hate and blah, blah, blah in return, but then really I look at yourself honestly and say, am I truly seeing peace and love? Because I would only see that come back. I would only feel that come back if that were true. That's how it works. So anyway, I don't want to read all of it, but those are the key nuggets that I took out of a review of lesson 57. It keeps reminding you, like, it kind of puts things in more real form about how you change your mindset will change your outer reality. It's all about seeing things with peace, love, freedom. Peace, love, freedom. And it's freedom as in the sense of like free from your own shackles of how you feel and see things. Like your own worries and anxieties and negative self-talk and negative projections out into the world. It's freedom from all of that. So that's where I landed with lesson 57. I think that's, yeah. What if we all like recognize that our inner world creates our outer world? And then you'd be like, but the outer world, it's freaking messed up right now. There's chaos. Well, because that's what you're choosing to see. Turn off the news. We can do good work in the world without feeding into the news algorithms. The news wants your eyeballs. The news wants your eyeballs. They want, when I say they, the people who are producing the news, they know like what grabs people's eyeballs. That's what they're gonna run. That the social media algorithm, if you feed into the hate machine, it's gonna feed you more of the hate machine. So if you see in your algorithm a bunch of negative stuff, guess what? You're feeding that. I know it's harsh because like I see a lot of cat videos. But sometimes I'll get negative stuff and it reminds me like, wait a minute, what am I feeding into that's negative? And I have to look at that. And then sometimes I see just freaking hilarious stuff. And it's probably because I'm sending my husband these silly memes that I know he'll love. He loves dad humor. It's not my first go-to, but when I see a lot of dad jokes start to pop up, I'm like, okay, pump the brakes. I've been sending him too many memes. So anyway, it knows you. It knows what you're feeding it. You're feeding the machine. Stop feeding the machine. So like when you start looking at memes with like uplifting messages and flowers and just joy and love and new ways of like seeing the world, more of that comes back to you. I swear the social media algorithm is the perfect analogy, the perfect representation in our world of these lessons. Perfect representation. So stop feeding it and stop giving your eyeballs away. They're monetizing your eyeballs. Set them free. Anyway, that's all. I gotta go. Today is the new moon. I'm really feeling good about that. I want to, I'm looking here at the reading. I left out all my cards from last night because it's one of those readings I'm like, should I post it? It was really hard. And we're going to go deeper, I think, tonight. So I'm leaving the cards up so I can reflect on them and feel into that energy even more. So I'm like, yeah, this is kind of new moon energy. There's a last letting go of something that it will allow us to cultivate self-love a little easier, a little like stronger. And there's something about letting go of an old wound, but doing the daily work. The new moon energy is doing the daily work to draw in self-love. And I feel like that goes along with this collection, this lesson 57, because we got to stop feeling heart hurt. That might just be an old story that we need to lay to rest, because we're going to start doing the daily work to cultivate self-love, to look in the mirror and say, you're worthy. You're worthy. And if we can't say that to ourselves, how can we expect anybody else to say it to us, for us? And so the new moon energy, drawing in the energy we want to feel, is doing the daily work. We're trying to, just the last remnants of that old story we've told ourselves. And we're doing the daily work. So, yeah, that's, it goes right along with lesson 57 of looking out to see the world we want to manifest. Like, but it has to start inside first. Like, I got to feel the self-love in order to project the love out. Don't you feel that? The world is the way it is right now because I think a lot of us haven't felt a lot of self-love, a love for self, a love for like our little humanness. It makes me kind of want to tear up because it's like we're just wounded little children being an adult in a world, in a wounded world. We see it as wounded. And it's like we're just little, like precious little children. And it's like, treat yourself that way for a day. Just say, you know what? We're going to comfort you. We're going to tell you you're loved. Like, see what happens. It's okay to do that. It's not cheesy. You don't have to make it cheesy. Just try it. I feel like the world needs us to love ourselves right now so that we can turn around and love each other even better, even more, even stronger. But it has to start inside first. Okay, gotta go. Have a beautiful day.